Yo, what is up, everyone? Drizzy MMA here, and today I'm gonna be going over what happened last Sunday at UFC Freedom 250. One of the best cards of all time. Every single fight ending in a finish, ending by knockout or TKO. It was really good from start to finish. This card definitely lived up to the hype. But let's get straight into it, though. For the first fight of the night, we had Diego Lopez taking on Steve Garcia. This fight went pretty much how I expected it to go. Steve Garcia started off the fight, had a lot of success. He was outstriking Diego Lopez. He rocked Diego Lopez early on into the round, which kind of caused Diego Lopez to be pretty hesitant. He didn't throw much. Steve Garcia took that first round. It looked like he was going to get the win. He was doing really good in the beginning of the second round. And then Diego Lopez started to land. He started to open up more. And Steve Garcia, instead of, kind of playing it smart and just staying on the outside and outstriking him like he was earlier. He started to trade with him, and that's what led to his loss. He got caught. Diego Lopez landed a really big right hand, dropped him, and just brutal ground and pound. He was already out for a while, landed a couple of shots, and Diego Lopez took the win by knockout. I did have Diego Lopez winning this fight by decision. I was right about the winner. I didn't think he was gonna knock Steve Garcia out though, but it was a very good shot, a very good fight. Steve Garcia did pretty well, but Diego Lopez ended up taking the win. He's probably a win or two away from getting another title shot. Maybe we'll get Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez 3 if Volk doesn't retire after his next fight, but we'll see what happens. Diego Lopez took the win by knockout. He's back in the win column. Very good fight. Very good way to kick off the card. After that, we got Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dawkins. This was another, pretty good fight. It started off by Bo Nickel immediately taking down Kyle Dawkins and just controlling him for that entire first round. He was landing a bunch of big ground and pound elbows. He was just, dominating him on the ground. For some reason, they stood the fight up, even though he was active on the ground. He was doing damage. They ended up setting him up at the end of the first round. And, Bo Nickel went out there. He landed a big right hand and knocked Kyle Dawkins out. He landed the big right hand. He dropped him and then just ground and pound, got the finish by TKO. Very good win for Bo Nickel. This put him in the top 15, so he's probably, on his run to getting a title shot at middleweight. He has a very good chance now. Middleweight doesn't really have that much good wrestlers. It's really only Hamzat and Strickland at the top that are, pretty good grapplers, so it should be pretty good to see how he does. Also, Fluffy Hernandez is a pretty good wrestler, so besides that, I feel like he out-wrestles everyone. His striking is improving more and more. I definitely think Bo Nickel will end up being a champion by the end of his career. Very good win for him right here on the biggest stage he could have possibly gotten a win at the White House. Very good fight. Bo Nickel won by knockout. That's exactly how I had the fight going. I said Bo Nickel was going to outstrike him. I didn't think he was going to wrestle. I thought he was going to stay on the feet just because how good Kyle Dawkins' jiu-jitsu was. But Bo Nickel, was able to dominate on the ground and still get the finish on the feet. So, yeah, Bo Nickel by knockout. I had that one predicted. After that, in the lightweight division, we have Rufi versus Chandler. This one kind of went how most people were expecting it. Rufi was just way too fast. His striking is just, probably the best striking in the UFC right now, honestly. He landed a bunch of big shots, wheel kicks, he dropped Chandler multiple times, I think. Let's see if it says right here. I'm not sure. Yeah, he dropped him twice before finishing him. Yeah, he was just, dominating in the striking from the very beginning. I thought Chandler was going to use the wrestling more. He did shoot a couple of takedowns, but he never really fully committed to any of them. Rufi was just, he stubbed him. I'm not sure, snubbed him pretty well and stuffed him. I don't know what I'm saying. He stuffed the takedowns pretty well and, kept the fight on the feet and was just outstriking Chandler. I do think Chandler probably needs to call it quits now. He people look at his UFC record and yeah, it is pretty bad, but most of those fights are very close fights, just back and forth wars, except his last two fights with Paddy and now Rufi. Those ones are kind of one-sided. But who knows, maybe he'll step down, he'll fight some lower competition. I definitely do think he's still one of the best lightweights in the world. He still could beat a lot of guys in the UFC. So we'll see what happens. Maybe this will be his last fight. Maybe he'll come back and, fight once more. But yeah, Rufi won by knockout. I did have him winning by knockout. So let's go into the next fight. We got Josh Hockey versus Derek Lewis. Another fight that kind of went the way most people expected it to. Derek Lewis just gassed out pretty early on, like halfway into the first round, and Josh Hockey just took advantage of that. He landed a bunch of big shots on Lewis. He took him down at the end of the first round, had him in an armbar. He didn't really set up the armbar the right way, so it wasn't doing much. It was just extending Derek Lewis's arm. But yeah, Josh Hockey, dominated the first round. Going to the second round, just kept on landing big shots. He dropped Derek Lewis and finished him with the ground and pound. Kind of expected. I did think Derek Lewis would, maybe work on his cardio a little bit more, especially for such a big fight, but it didn't look like he did. Josh Hockett took the win by knockout. That's another fight I predicted right. After this one was Sean O'Malley versus Emma Zahabi. Sean O'Malley finally getting a knockout after, I think, 3 years since the Aljamain Sterling fight. He did very good in this fight. Zahabi also did have some success. He landed a lot of good leg kicks. Sean O'Malley wasn't really throwing much kicks in this fight for some reason. Usually he throws that teep up the middle. He also uses his leg kicks kind of to set up his striking, but I don't think he threw a single kick in this fight. I don't know if it'll say right here what he threw, but he didn't really throw much kicks at all. He was using his hands. He was using that right to the body a lot because Zahabi was kind of using like a shell to kind of cover up, but left his body open. Sean O'Malley was taking advantage of that. And then he landed that right hand down the middle, dropped Zahabi. He got back up, dropped him again, and they stopped the fight. He saluted the troops and got the win on the White House lawn. I think he does deserve a title shot after this one. They should do Peter Yan versus Merab 3 next and then give the winner to Sean O'Malley. And I do think he can beat the winner. I think his style is very good against Peter Yan. I think he could beat Peter Yan. Merab, it kind of just depends, how Merab looks against Peter Yan. I think that he's kind of, getting a little bit too old. He's not in his prime anymore. So I think Sean O'Malley might be able to beat him in the trilogy, but we will see. I do think he gets a title shot after this one, though. Sean O'Malley by knockout. I did have him winning by knockout in rounds 2 or 3, so that was another one I got right. After this one, though, the heavyweight division for the interim title, Alex Pereira and Cyril Gane. This fight I did not see going like this. Cyril Gane was just too fast. Pereira wasn't really able to land anything. And Gane dropped him with a jab. He dropped him with a jab, and then he did fight pretty dirty. He landed a bunch of elbows to the back of the head, a bunch of, just, what's it called? Like punches to the back of the head when he dropped him. I do think that kind of played a part, but I think Cyril Gane probably would have won the fight either way. He was just too fast, too big. I think Pereira should go back to 205. I think he beats pretty much everybody at 205, but I don't know if he's big enough for heavyweight. Maybe if he, puts on more muscle. I feel like he kind of went out there just a little bit. He put on a little bit more fat than muscle. He didn't look as fast as he usually does. I think it would have been better if he didn't even try to put on any weight and he just went in there at like 230 like he was at 205. And, he'd have that speed still. I think he could beat Cyril Gane like that, but in this fight, he just wasn't fast enough. Cyril Gane outstriked him, dropped him with a jab. I think he dropped him multiple times too before he finished him, and then ended up getting a TKO. They had to stop the fight. It was a pretty good fight, but kind of sad. I did want Pereira to win, but I think he'll come back. I think he'll probably go back to 205, and I think he does beat Carl Solberg, and he's pretty much beaten every single person at 205 besides Solberg. Like, he hasn't fought him yet. So yeah, Cyril Gane became the interim title. Became the interim champion. Hopefully, Tom Aspinall is able to recover from the eye injury that Cyril Gane gave him, and they're able to run the rematch back. I think Tom Aspinall could beat him, but it's another interesting fight. Cyril Gane has looked pretty good. He looked pretty good in that fight against Tom Aspinall. He was just too fast for him, so we'll see what happens. I think Tom Aspinall versus Gane 2 is going to be a big fight, though, even bigger than the first one. But yeah, Cyril Gane won by knockout. I did have Pereira winning, so that was the first fight I got wrong. And another fight I got wrong was the main event, Topuria versus Justin Gaethje. I don't think anyone saw this fight going the way it did. Justin Gaethje was just outstriking him the entire time, out grappling him. It was crazy. Justin Gaethje won rounds 1, 3, and 4 before they stopped it. Topuria did do pretty good in round 2. He did drop Gaethje with the body shots, and then he started going for submissions and kind of just like staying on top. But I feel like if he went for the finish and like landed ground and pound, I think he could have won the fight. But he just started to grapple with him. Gaethje was just the better fighter that night. He landed a lot of big shots. He dropped Topuria multiple times. Topuria's face didn't even look like the same person anymore. It was very crazy. Seeing what Topuria did to Volkanovski, Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira, back to back to back. It's crazy seeing him lose like that, getting dominated the entire fight by Justin Gaethje, who, like 2 years ago, everyone was saying Justin Gaethje's career was over after the UFC 300 knockout from Max Holloway, but now he's the undisputed lightweight champion finally, after becoming interim champion multiple times. I think twice he was interim champion. He's finally an undisputed champion. Very crazy performance from Gaethje. He just dominated the entire fight. Going into round three, the doctor called the fight off. He stopped it, but the ref kept it going. I'm not sure how they were able to do that. I guess because it's the White House, they kind of let it go longer. It didn't matter though, because after the fourth round, Taporia quit on the stool. I'm not sure if he quit. People were saying he quit. People were saying that his corner stopped it, but that was it. He couldn't see out of either eyes. Justin Gaethje dominated him and got the win by TKO. Undisputed champion, insane. I think this is the biggest upset of all time. But overall, guys, it was a very good card. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys, of the card. I feel like this lived up, beyond the hype. This card was absolutely amazing. Every fight ending in knockout. You don't really see that. I don't think that's ever happened in UFC history. So yeah, a great card on the White House. This is something that's going to be remembered forever. Yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what your guys' thoughts were on the card. Let me know who you guys had winning. That would be all. I'll see you guys in the next video.